Okay, I've had some people wondering what I look like and wanting to see the man behind the voice. Well, this is what you get. Today we've got a little screw around project. I bought a little Colman cooler. It's got a couple wheels on with a handle you pull up so you can pull it behind you. Thought it'd be nice to take along for the swaps, stuff that way. But when I got it, I put it in the back of the pickup, put a little bit of, I had some sandwich meat and stuff that way, a little 5-pound bag of ice, stuff. Went to get it out of the pickup and here the one wheel was broke off. Center hub, I'd let go on it. Well, actually when I put these in the lathe, I cut about the whole 5/8 of an inch off it, something that way. And what I'm doing now is, since I could cut it in the lathe, I figured for sure putting it in the forge jaw, as soon as I started diving in with a tool, it'd pop it right out, being cheap plastic, but it does have enough webbing in, it did hold pretty good. And managed to cut it off, faced it a little bit, bored a hole in it, because the other one I cut off the same way, and still had the hub on that, so I can use that as a lineup. What I'm going to do is cast them out of aluminum. So this way I've got a 2-piece pattern. You lay this one in your flask on your piece of plywood, and well, I made a little plug for the center of it so that that's sealed off, won't get the sand in. Put a little parting dust on, ram it up, then flip it over, and I've got a screw hole in there to pull the plug out. Then you take your other half and put it on there, ram the sand up in here. I'm going to have the head coming off the center of it for where I pour it. Probably do a few risers just to let the gases out better. But that way I can hang on to that head in the chuck if I need to turn this at all. And well, when you start out, you put the whole wheel in the chuck, chew that up a little bit with it. And I doubt that I'll have to turn much here, but usually on a pattern, you've got a little relief in there, so when you pull it out of the sand, it doesn't take the sand with it. In this case, using the existing wheel, well, I may get lucky or I may not. I'm planning to do a video showing that. That should be included in probably this part. It's probably going to be a 2-part one where I'll get it set up and cast one day. And I've already shot some footage of splitting these and everything that way, so you get to see some of that too. And we'll take her out and see what happens. Works for me. Okay, this is all the furnaces. It's getting time to replace the refractory in it. This was a homemade refractory back when I first built it, and it's been used enough where it's getting in pretty rough shape. It's starting to crack. Well, I've done some brass and bronze, and getting it hot enough for that, it turns the silica sand into glass, so the lid's got a few cracks in it, and the hole is actually bigger than it used to be. And this is just run off of propane. I do have a valve on here that I was running waste oil in it before, but it only takes, oh, maybe 10 to 15 minutes to melt 12 or 14 pounds of aluminum down with propane, so don't really need to use the waste oil either. Okay, getting ready here to ram up the mold for the wheels there. I was going to show, I mentioned some handles I made before. This is a pattern I made for that. The pry bars are a square shank, and so what it does is you put the first half, I can have it with the shank laying in the pattern is what it'll mount to. I guess you're in the frame there. And use this little piece as a spacer to keep the handle centered. And then when you flip it over and put the other half on with the handle in there yet, I've got a flask that's got the square hole in the end of it for the handle to stick through. And so you get it rammed up and ready to go. And on these longer ones, when they were in the flask, I actually had a block out on the end of it out here to help support it, to hold it in place until you pour the handle. So I'll be doing some of these again for some other bars I've got, and some for a friend of mine. This one I just left it to rough casting. It's been hammered on quite a bit already, so she's starting to mushroom out, but it's never moved down here. Considering these are 4 years old already, I figure it's not doing too bad. They get used and abused quite often. A lot better than the plastic ones they originally had on, because you tap them with a hammer at all, and well, they crack and break. I had to make a couple flasks for this project. Okay, that's a little plug I made. Set this in here and put the plug in. That looks real good. Just riddle a little bit on there first to keep some finer stuff there. Make sure I don't have any big chunks in it. This is regular Petrobond green sand, and it's been used quite a bit already, so it's a little dark colored compared to what you usually see. And now, after a few months of not doing this, you guys probably already noticed I screwed up. I didn't put my parting test in the piece, so I may have problems. But for the hell of it, I'm going to go ahead and ram it up and see what we end up with. Might try taking the piece out before I do the other half. Without the parting dust, it may not come out right. I suppose we'll go ahead and ram the other half up with parting dust on it. See what happens. With the plastic, I may be lucky that it'll work better. I'm going to try and get enough on the sides where it'll help it pull out. That's where we'll probably have problems with the other half. Normally I'll cut the riser in afterwards, but since I want this one about centered on there, we're going to do it that way this time. Actually, I'm going to riddle a little bit in there first. If you noticed on the other part, I used two different rams that I made on the lathe before. This is more of a standard one. It's a little bigger diameter because my hands are bigger, but that's about a standard size. It's a lot of them used to use, but this is just a small one. I've got the smaller flask like that one for the screwdriver. That it's easier to get into the corners and around pieces with that. Close enough for who it's for. That one came out pretty nice. And a little bit I didn't pack close enough in the corners, but won't affect the mold anyway. Now let's see if we got lucky or not. Works for me. It's going to be plenty close, that's for sure. Here I don't have to cut any gates or anything because that one tube's big enough. I can pour and she'll fill nice right off of that. I'll have to do a slight little bit through the web in the middle because these surfaces basically contact. So I'll just have to knock out a little bit so it goes into the rest of it. But other than that, don't really need anything. And then we'll get the other one, remember the parting dust on the next one, and get it ready, and we'll get the furnace fired up while I'm ramming that one up. It should be good to go. Now you didn't get to see me ramming up the second one here. This camera, sometimes when you first turn it on, it'll be ready where you can hit the record button in 3 or 4 seconds. The next time it might take 7 to 10 seconds. Now with the way the sun's shining out here, I didn't look close enough to see if it did come on. So I was showing you, explaining some different things on this one. And all of a sudden the camera clicked where it went into the screensaver mode. And so I wasn't recording anything. So I'll have to see when I edit. I think it probably wasn't recording. I was saying I decided that on the pattern, because of the height of it and everything, the way the wheel is made, or the way I'm making it with the 2 halves, there'll be plenty of room for the aluminum to flow through and everything that way. Here, truthfully, you wouldn't have to strike off the top here. You could leave it just packed down and leave it sticking up higher like that, or whatever you want to do. You just want to knock the loose stuff off. But it's usually about as easy to just scrape it off, and you don't have to deal with it. But I was mentioning while the camera wasn't on that instead of sticking my tube in and ramming the sand around it, what I'd usually do on a pattern like this is use my strike off. Before you start putting the sand in the second half, you lay it on there. You can mark a line on the flats for both ways to mark where your center is. Then after you get it rammed up, all you do is line her up on your lines and put a little line across there and line it on the lines the other way, and there's your center point. So then you can take and just stick the tube in, cut the sand out, and put your riser in that way. It's easier than trying to pack it around them and everything. But for this case, I want to keep it centered more so that I can put it in the lathe. The way the other one came out in the sand, it's looking good enough that I doubt that there'll be anything to turn on the outer side unless I screw up and cave it in somehow before I pour. But I've got the other one sitting down there ready to pour. I'm hoping to get a friend of mine, Ron, out here to use the camera while I get it out to pour and everything that way. Came out pretty nice too. Looks like it even pulled the bottom one out this time with the parting dust on it. So I'm still gonna tap it out towards the side a little bit. It felt like it was trying to pull a little bit up here. That one came out better than the first one. set it over there, ready to go. Well, the way the sun is, I can't even see the screen of the camera. There, I got both of them sitting there ready to go. I've got, I got to move the pail here. Got the ingot mold setting there for if I have any left. These are big enough. I think it'll probably take what I melt. Those are some ingots I poured other times when I melt some of the stuff down. Doubt that's going to show up in there. Always nicer to have too much aluminum than that now. I guess I wasn't quite in the screen there, but you might be able to see me take it out and everything there. Normally I do have the jacket and everything on. Today it's already up to about 80, and I know you should never do it without, safety should be the first concern. I've got the glasses I wear are safety lenses and everything, and do wear the gloves. I've been doing it enough years. I know I'm pushing my luck, but that's my choice. But I would like, if anybody else ever tries it, definitely wear all the protective clothing and everything that way. Safety is the first key to everything. Just do as I say and not as I do. This piece got a little bit of moisture on it. Dry it off a little first. I don't know if you can see when I was doing that with the other chunk in there or not. This one probably won't fit through the hole, so I'm going to have to open it up and put it in. Probably got enough in the crucible right now. Like I say, a little extra is always nice.
Might be a fuzz short for this one, but we're going to try it anyway. Well, we made it with some despair. Not much.
Go rough on that one.